Half a dozen reasons why Ipswich Town still refuse to give up anytime soon on this championship title race. Welcome to the Blue Monday podcast. Good evening. And welcome to the Blue Monday podcast following the title chasing fortunes of Ipswich Town since 2015. My name is Craig Fimbo, and this is the live Flagship Show brought to you every Sunday, and especially every Sunday following a bloody 6 open brackets, 6 close brackets to 0 victory. Hello to everyone watching us live. Please say hello in the comments. There's a lot of people in the comments. I shall try and ping some up in very short course. If you're watching or listening after the event, good work in prolonging the basking. All we ask is, regardless of how you're watching or listening, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a 5-star rain or shine review. Dave, can you please define the intangible quality that is bounce back ability?
I think that was it. That was it yesterday, as defined. That Ipswich Town versus Sheffield Wednesday on the the 16th of March would be in the Oxford English Dictionary as the definition of bounce back ability. I think, yeah, it was a bit odd. We're in the pub beforehand in the Greyhound, and quite mixed. Funny enough, they do if you've been to the Greyhound, they do. If you're not, you can see it. They post it on Twitter and stuff. They have the little blackboard as you go into the garden, and usually there's a 6-0 flying around, 4, 5, 6-0. Weren't any of those yesterday. It was lots of like 3-2s, 2-1, stuff like that. And the general consensus, I think, an edgy win, or it could get edgy a bit last week if we don't sort of get the early goal, get on top, could be a little bit edgy. And it turned out to be quite the opposite, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And also joining us, as you can see, is Mikey Penty Smith, prized from his normal midweek live post-match slot, as he was able to attend in the flesh yesterday. Mikey, how is your own giddiness?
Yeah, I mean, just so it's got past being surreal now. Like I think you said in the green room beforehand, Rich, it's just becoming the norm, isn't it? Just going to Portman Road and walking away happy with beaming smiles, and so much to be positive about. And you mentioned the bounce back ability. How many times have we done that under Kieran McKenna? We have a bad result and we instantly bounce back in the next game. Not always with a win, but always with a big performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's a lot of people in the chat sort of relating to what you were saying there, Dave, about what their predictions were. As we saw in the pre-match show where Rich and Seb do their predictions. Rich himself went for a 1-1, as has been highlighted here, and there's a few people saying it would be a lot closer than as.
Well, I think. Do you remember when we were doing our predictions? I think at the beginning of the month, I think Ben actually said. Do you remember Ben at the home games? Ben, I don't know if he said a loss, but he said that might. Yeah. Well, I don't know if he predicted a loss. I can't remember, but he said he thought that might be. And to be fair to Ben, at that point, I think they just won 3 on the 3, or maybe even 4 on the spin. Certainly 3 on the spin before they won the 4th and then played Leeds. So probably was a fair comment. But good God, I mean, we played well yesterday, but they were not very good.
No, we'll come to that in a second. At which point in proceedings they down tools, shall we say? But yeah, so let's crack on. Let's look at the teams that lined up yesterday. I shall bring up the Town team. Apologies, Mikey, for covering your face. 3 changes for Town after last week's injury time disappointment in South Wales. Axel Twanzebe came in at right back for Harry Clark. Nathan Broadhead came on the left of the attacking 3 behind the striker in place of Jeremy Sarmiento, both of whom dropped to the bench. And Amari Hutchinson came in as a replacement for Connor Chaplin, who didn't actually even take a place in the squad, I think, for the first time this season. He was one of the knocks that was being referred to in Kieran McKenna's pre-match press conferences. Dave, your views on that lineup and the replacements?
Yeah, not surprised about Sarmiento. I think that wasn't a great surprise. I don't think he was largely ineffective against Cardiff, wasn't he? And he hasn't been as effective as a starter, really, has he? Hasn't really had that many starts, but when he hasn't really pulled up many trees, so to speak. Chaplin was a surprise, really, just completely. We got the teams through. Oh, Chaplin's rested on the bench. No, he's not even on the bench. And obviously, subsequently discover he think did I read perhaps a back problem in training this week. Yeah, Twanzebe for Clark again. I don't think Clark particularly had his most greatest game against Cardiff.
Defensively,
Yeah, certainly defensively. So yeah, no great. Yeah. The only great surprise there is Chaplin, and as you say, Craig, not even in the squad. So clearly that was an injury, which, like I said, we found out later it was. So, but yeah, still. And again, you look at these teams, and even with these players out, you scan the bench, and it's a ridiculously strong bench still, isn't it?
yeah. Well, that was one of the things actually, Micah, that when the bench did come out, you just wondered, they're just, as we're so used to that attacking four, being replaced like for like when we get to about 65, 70 minutes, and you looked at it and thought, well, maybe we're just a touch short there potentially. But yeah, yourself, how about the lineup and maybe Hutchison himself coming in for that number 10 slot in place of Chaplin? Different sort of players, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think the common consensus has been that Murray Hutchinson is more effective off the bench. I think that might be the case when he plays out wide, but he's a different animal in that number 10 position, especially in a game like that at home. Maybe it wouldn't have suited him so much in a tighter game away from home. But yeah, it was. I mean, Luongo just seems to now and again he just needs a few days rest or a few days on the training ground to get back up and running. He had that illness a few weeks ago, and he never quite looked himself, did he? The last couple of games, but yeah, he was just an absolute. Using this term, he was just a beast yesterday, wasn't he, Dave?
He was, but to be honest,
I think, but so good driving forward on it as well.
Not being detrimental to him, I think you'd have done a half decent job in front of Luongo and Morsey yesterday. My God. But you're right. He was on a different level. But yeah, no doubt we'll get onto Morsey in a little while.
Yeah, 100% we will. Just a quick look at the Wednesday team. They had a slight change to their lineup, or certainly to their formation. Team that was beaten by Leeds last week, but previous to that had won 4 out of 4. They'd made 4 changes themselves to their lineup, including Dominic Iorfa, who came into play right back as they switched to a back 4 from their usual back 5. Another interesting one, I think Quincy Jones's favourite Leeds loanee, Ian Pavida, came in, and he
nothing to Mikey whatsoever. lost on him completely.
Even with that funny,
even with that pitch perfect rendition.
Honestly, with that pitch perfect rendition, whoosh.
But he looked lively, didn't he, Pavida? He was there. Yeah, he was their driving force, wasn't he? And certainly in the first half for periods. Right, Dave. Let's kick off proceedings, and shall we? Do you want to take us up to the first quarter of an hour or so, up to and including a Václav Hladký goal kick?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd been reasonably even. I thought I think it was just about 15 minutes the first goal comes with just about perhaps wrestled territorial advantage and stuff. They broke away a couple of times into our half, I think, but with really nothing. Bannon landed on the ball a couple of times and played a couple of useful balls forward and stuff. But yeah, we looked as if we were pretty much getting on top at this point. And I mean, it starts. I have to remind myself of there's so many goals. I've got to remind myself about it. Yeah, I think it's just a really patient build up. Again, it's just a goal that I think Rich said counted up 18 or something passes. I can't remember if this was the goal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hutchison gets the ball. The move develops, and Hutchison gets the ball. So right side of the penalty box, plays it inside to Morsey, who just sort of spins and plays in Twanzebe. And this is really good for Burns, because really for the first 10 minutes, Burns barely had a kick. Really not say quiet, just the ball, just the build up, and we'll get on to why it was more perhaps down the left hand side, but barely got a kick. But it was really good from Burns. It's played to Twanzebe. He knocks it. Burns is coming off the right, sort of level with the edge of the penalty area. Twanzebe sort of lays it into him. It's a really clever sort of reverse pass, isn't it? He sort of reverse passes it to Hutchinson. And again, this is brilliant because you think he sort of almost lets it run across his body, and you think he's let it run too far, but he just sort of spins and gets around it, doesn't he? And keeper's got no chance. He's unsighted, and it just flies past him at the near post. No, I know keeper near post, but he's got no chance there. He just hits it really early, doesn't he? And he is unsighted as well. But I think that was. Hutchinson had looked lively up to that point, but that was a real catalyst for him, I think.
Yeah, it was just bending away from him, wasn't it? As soon as he hit it, it's bending away from the goalkeeper. He didn't particularly hit it, overly cleanly or powerfully, but yeah, it's right in the corner, wasn't it? And it's funnily enough, someone on Twitter earlier I saw said that it was probably the only poor touch that Hutchinson had all match was that first touch that led up to the opening.
Ironically, opened up probably the angle for him better, to be fair. But yeah.
Absolutely. And just quickly here, Gary, thank you very, very much for your contribution there, my friend. That's much, much appreciated. But Mikey, there were lots of, as Dave said, there were lots of pressing. It was quite an open end-to-end match certainly for the first 20 minutes or so. I say from that Sheffield Wednesday lineup, they weren't coming to sit back and defend. And in fact, it was a very rare Sam Morsy mistake where he was, as ever, pushing forward and leaving people in his wake and tried an elaborate step over about 30, 40 yards out from the Sheffield Wednesday goal, didn't it? He got nicked off him, and before we know it, it's up the other end. And now, say, our friend Pavida had a shot low to Hladky's right, which he turned around.
Good save.
But then it was a good save, wasn't it? Yeah, very low down to his right.
Really good save. Wow.
But then on about 37, I think it was, Wes Burns forces a corner, but at a cost.
Yeah, so great burst of pace from Wes Burns, and I think he's playing really to win a corner there, isn't he? And if he can get the ball across, it's a bonus. But yeah, he gets the corner, and I don't know whether it was the process of slowing down or maybe he slipped slightly on the AstroTurf behind the goal, but he wasn't comfortable straight away, was he? And he got back onto the pitch and laid down. Really worrying signs. And then the number comes up, and it's Caden Jackson, which feels a little bit strange because we haven't seen him in that position for quite a long time. And you think he's quite a major drop off, isn't he? I think a lot of people would have expected maybe Amari to go out onto the right and Jeremy Sarmiento to come in the number 10 position. But obviously with the way that Hutchinson started the game and Jackson really being more of a like for like, they were struggling in that left back position with Burns' pace. They were going to struggle with Caden Jackson's pace. Jackson came on. We'll speak more about him a little bit later. But yeah, it's just a pretty standard corner from Leif Davis. This one doesn't do anything tricky with this one. He just basically chips it into that front post area where Kiefer Moore just gets across his man. I compared it to like a John Terry header, the way he just glanced it, but with so much power on it. It was an absolute bullet header, and it comes down off the underside of the bar. It comes out, and Cameron Burgess just wants the ball so much more than those defenders. They freeze, and Burgess is just sort of throwing himself around. He possibly pushed a player in the back.
Held him down, possibly, didn't he?
Yeah. But didn't really see many complaints. Then it sort of falls near the feet of Tuanzebe, and 3 Wednesday players all go for the ball, and it deflects into the path of Burgess, whose eyes light up, and he just sweeps it home with his weaker right foot. And yeah, after the setback of Wes Burns going off injured, we find ourselves 2-0 up. Just incredible stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Wes Burns, it happened right in front of us, as people may know. We looked right across that goal line, straight towards the away fans in the upper Pioneer, I shall call it, for old time's sake. And it was funny because Wes Burns he went and then checked and then went again. So I don't know whether that secondary burst of, I don't know anything about secondary bursts of pace, let alone primary bursts of pace. But he looked, as soon as he got, as you say, Mike, he sort of got the cross in, and looked okay. But it's once he subsequently went off the pitch, he'd done something serious and then dragged himself back on the pitch to make sure that the game was stopped. But yeah, so looking straight at him, it looked like he knew it was a serious one, if you know what I mean. Body language and bits and pieces like that.
The way he hobbled off looked like hamstring, didn't it? And it would depend if it's a grade 1, it's 2 weeks in it, and it goes up in like if it's a 3 like Hurst, well, that's probably at that level. It's an operation, isn't it?
I think it's grade 2 at best, isn't it?
Grade 2, do you think?
Really?
Yeah. So that's 3 weeks a month.
Well, yeah.
Well, I said grade 2 at best, Dave. I've no idea.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. You want to think the way he hobbled off, it's not a grade 1's just feels a bit tight, but no, it's a shame. Look, obviously he's class player. He's going to be a miss because in recent games, perhaps when Hutchinson has played out wide, with Bristol City comes to mind. You see Burns come on, he misses directness. But so, I would say we'll get onto it in a minute. But Jackson may well have a big role to play now.
Yeah, they're more the like for like, aren't they? Whereas Hutchinson's more of the dribbler, taking people on, isn't he? And I suppose it's as well. Again, this is from zero personal experience about having explosive pace off the mark. Hamstring wise, you're going to want to trust that 100% when you do come back, aren't you? Because you don't want to be being a little bit tentative about that burst. Quick one here from Callie. Callie, thank you very much, my friend. £1 for every goal. This is like some sort of sponsored event. Hopefully next week we'll score 10 and you can round it up to a tenner for us. Thank you very, very much, Callie. Much appreciated. So just moving forward towards half time, Davis had a shot saved by Beadle, and then Dave, as we're approaching injury time of the first half, Barry Bannon's Sheffield Wednesday's Barry Bannon attempts to pull a ball out the sky and around about the centre circle, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's quite funny because last year he was doing that for fun, wasn't he? And he'd probably figged it up and volleyed a 40-yard pass to someone on the right wing. But not yesterday. This is just brilliant from Moore Edge. You know what I compared at the time? I just quickly had a brilliant, took advantage of Powell, had a spare seat. So I let my eldest have my usual seat and I sat up in Sir Alf Upper with in front with my pals. And I sat, Big Jim sat there, Veronica sat dead in the row in front of me, and Chris Robinson next to me. So brilliant.
The language, the blue language,
honestly,
it
was shocking, mate. It was shocking, honestly. So that was superb, and I think we were sort of me and Chris were sort of reminiscing. I said, you know what, that move where he bullies, I think is it Heckway, bullies the Heckway turns. That was like Mariner, Paul Mariner at his best. How I remember him, just sheer strength. And it's great, good awareness, but goodness me, the ball from Jackson is just out of this world, really, isn't it? I mean, we've seen some brilliant ones from Wes Burns, haven't we? I mean, home match, couple of home matches ago, the Rotherham, the Keith Moore goal against Rotherham, where he absolutely hammers it. But this is you see this one back on the TV, and this is even better because he bends it in. I thought he puts a straight ball in. He actually bends it round Johnson, and by the way, that was a bullet we dodged, by the way. And I mean, the finish from Broadhead is just sublime because that's not an easy finish. He's running in there at pace, and it's a half volleyed finish, first touch. Yeah, absolute picture goal, class goal. Every aspect of that goal was just beautiful.
Caden De Bruyne.
Honestly, that's exactly what that is. That De Bruyne.
Jesus Christ, Mikey.
Well, it is though. You nailed that, Mikey. That is that pass with pace, that curl pass with pace, which is a hard skill. Not for De Bruyne, obviously, but I'd say for
or for you and I, Dave. But for me and
Mikey, left foot, right foot.
Okay.
I was going to compare it more to a bit of a David Beckham first time cross, but again, referring to my seated position there. It was perfect for that, and literally, I sit next to Oscar, obviously my boy, and as soon as Jackson had hit that, he screamed, "What a ball!" You could just see it. You could see it from our position, just curling. It was perfect. Jeffrey Boycott, corridor of uncertainty, just curling away from the keeper, and it was a great goal and just a nice run from Broadhead as well, Mikey.
At pace as well, wasn't it? Absolutely bust a gut to get there.
Yeah. Exactly, but he had a funny old half, hadn't he, Mikey? He was sort of in and out. He'd got into the box a few times and either not made the right decision or delayed a little bit too long and got caught on the ball, hadn't he?
He's a drifter, isn't he? Really, Nathan Broadhead. He drifts and flits in and out of games, but he quite often goes for the high tariff passes and runs, doesn't he? So he's gonna make mistakes. He's the kind of player that he'll often be a match winner, but he can also be the player that gives the ball away the most in games as well. But yeah, I thought we'll speak more about Broadhead, but that was a really nice finish from him as well, because it was whipped in at pace and he just sorted his feet out lovely. And then he looked like a different player after that. He just got confidence absolutely flowing through his veins, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I think, as you say about him being a drifter, I think he's also very much a confidence player, isn't he? That if he gets a chance and puts it away in the first however many minutes, then you think, crikey, he's going to be on a bit of a roll here for the rest of the game. Whereas conversely, if he misses one or two, like he did at the Norwich game, he sort of just goes into his shell a little bit, maybe. But a great goal all round. And I say, having gone into the latter stages of the first half, thinking, well, it'd be nice to just get a second goal here, just to go in with a bit of comfort into half time. We find ourselves 3-0 up at half time and pretty much cruising. And Danny Roll's got some decisions to make, whether to stick or twist, really, I suppose. And to a certain extent, I suppose he sticks, because he makes a couple of changes at half time. One of them including the aforementioned Barry Bannon. I'm not too how injured Mr. Bannon was, and I'm not sure how many times he's been taken off and substituted at half time for Sheffield Wednesday, but he comes off and they go to a five at the back from their previous four at the back. His performance in general, Dave, was,
Bannon,
as you sort of you've referred to earlier from last year.
He was just schooled. He was just schooled by Morsey and Luongo, did he? Oh, honestly, I wouldn't.
They ran all over him, didn't they?
Absolutely destroyed him yesterday. Luongo was good yesterday. I mean, like I said, we'll get on to Morsey, but Luongo was back to his best, I thought, yesterday. Getting his foot in, winning pretty much every second ball. And Bannon, you could see he was getting frustrated. It maybe had he been, but not sure he'd been booked.
He should have been booked for trying to side down Hutchinson, didn't he?
Yeah, he should have done
Hutchinson
so.
got up and then
maybe it's a smart move by Roll there. He's perhaps 3-0 down at half time. Yes, no doubt he is still a key player for them. 3-0 down at half time. They've got bigger, more important perhaps fights ahead of them, haven't they? You almost write that game off and take him off at half time. I don't know. I haven't seen anywhere where he's injured or anything, but probably sheer frustration and stuff like that, I would have thought, because he was bossed.
Yeah, he just didn't. I couldn't work out what position he was playing. He just always seemed to be in the wrong place rather than the right place.
Yeah, that little tactical tweak, because normally they just play a system just to accommodate Bannon, don't they? And yesterday they shifted to something else and tried to play the ball down the channels a little bit more and sort of try and find those gaps, and it just didn't work for them at all. And yeah, I mean, he didn't have a good game. He just had one of those days where his touch wasn't quite there, but I don't think the way they set up helped him.
Yeah, and also his refereeing performance wasn't up to scratch either, was it? Really? No. Shame, real shame. And it didn't take us too long, Mikey, into that second half pretty much straight away. Town's left-hand side had been purring and did so again.
Yeah, well, this goal actually it starts with Marvin Johnson, who was linked with a move to us in January, wasn't he? Bombing down the left channel, and it sort of hits a cross shot, which sort of dipped at a really awkward height for Hladky, and Hladky just sort of swats it away, doesn't he? And I think because there was no Sheffield Wednesday players running into the box, it was a fairly safe move from him. And Davis is just so alert and just so keen to start a counter-attack. Like, so often we slowly build from the back, but when Davis gets the ball, it's a completely different matter, isn't it? He's just thinking straight away, how am I going to get up this line? And yeah, he starts the counter attack. Broadhead drops in really deep, like a lot deeper than you'd usually see him. He exchanges passes with Davis. I think Luongo gets a touch as well, and Davis just flies up the left wing, and I think he's on the halfway line when he gets the ball off Luongo. So he's already covered 40, 50 yards. And then, just plays a nice little pass inside to Broadhead, who's just kept running as well, into sort of the centre of the left channel. just a few sort of touches, and he sort of assesses, scans, looks what's going on. Can see that Amari Hutchinson is making that run in off the right, and Hutchinson just first touch out of his feet, sort of bounces it up a little bit. I'm not sure if he meant to do that, but it bounced the ball up beautifully so he could just get his head over it and drill it with his right foot. He's got so much better at that finish with his right foot recently. He just powers it into the bottom corner, and it's game, set, and match.
Yeah, they were at 6s and 7s, weren't they, Dave? Straight after half time, considering they'd stuck an extra defender on the pitch, as Mikey says. When Broadhead started driving through their half, it just opened up, didn't it?
I think, in fairness to them, and I didn't notice this, someone just said, sorry, I didn't read who in the comments, that when Davis received the second ball halfway, when Mikey said he's bombing forward, that's when Pavida gets injured, apparently. So that's
he pulls up.
He pulls up at this stage. So I guess that obviously, as you said, sorry, Nick, that obviously created the space, but it was still a lovely work goal. And he loves that ball, Broadhead. He's great because it's not. It should be a straightforward ball, but he's got to get the weight right. Very similar to the ball he played first Hurst at Sunderland. That little ball. So just a little 5-yard ball, perfectly weighted. And Hutchinson's never going to miss, as he absolutely lashed it in, didn't he? Yeah. Beadle just wasn't about, was he?
No, he got a good hand to it, possibly. And so it was shortly after that Pavida was subbed, as Nick said there. He pulled up trying to track Leif Davis back. Got subbed off for a few minutes later.
Sorry.
And then Luongo, as Chaplin wasn't around, Luongo thought he'd have a go from the halfway line and try and stick it in. And he hit again, referring to my position in the ground. We were right behind that, and he sort of knuckleballed it, and it was wobbling as it headed towards goal, and was just going wide when Beadle tipped it wide. And then Moore had a couple of shots over the bar, and then Hutchinson had a shot which was deflected over the bar. As you were saying earlier, Jackson was starting to get into positions down the right and getting some decent balls in. And then we were in a position to be able to start making some changes. We spoke about at the beginning about making our attacking changes around about the 65th, 70th minute. And on 72, we make a double change. Sarmiento and Ali Al-Hamidi come on for Broadhead and Moore, giving the Welsh guys a bit of a break before they disappear off on international duty. And similar to Caden Jackson, what you want to do as a sub, and what the vast majority of our subs tend to do, is you want to sort of make an impact. And Ali Al-Hamidi does that, David, on 80 minutes.
He does, yeah. This is the turn from Hutchison, which is just ridiculous. Again, I think it's is it Heckway or someone from Moreno gets far too close to him. I think it's Wolfenden. It starts deep just in our box, but I think Wolfenden plays the ball into centre mid, and Hutchison just drops his shoulder, and it's a real see you later, isn't it? Really, it really is. He leaves him absolutely. Drives on. Then I think he gets taken out, maybe by Johnson. Could have been Heckway, I'm not sure. But again, just delivers a ball left to Sarmiento. Great hit. Love that technique. Sort of rolls it under his boot, Mike. He gets it out of his feet. Lovely. It's a proper swerving, it's really moving. Beadle just sort of parries it. Can't really do much with it. Probably does well to stop it, to be fair. But sharp. Al-Hamidi, he's just right there on the spot and just absolutely slots it in. 5-0. Thank you very much. 5-0. You think, this game's going to peter out into 4-0, which would have been on the balance of it. Sounds crazy, slightly disappointing, but great to get the 5th.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a lull in proceedings midway through the second half, understandably. And as you say, Dave, and as Mick Mills was saying on the drive home, that very often you see that teams will get to 4 and then things will just tail off till the end of the season, and changes are made and subs are made, and the pattern of the game sort of lost a little bit, and everyone just settles for a 4-0. But no, not currently this team. And Al-Hamidi, a couple of minutes later, Mikey, as we sort of get towards the final minute of the game, he gets his second goal from a combined total of about 8 yards. Do we think, for both of them?
If that, yeah.
If that,
Some boy, Al-Hamidi. He's so raw in so many aspects of his game, but he just knows where to be, doesn't he? And his movement is just fantastic. Just really, really good movement. It's like David McGoldrick-esque. We're running through a lot of our favourite ex-players in this show, aren't we? But
not
yeah.
all of them just yet, Mikey. Not all of them just yet.
No, yeah, you haven't played your trump card just yet, have you?
Not yet.
Just
Not
going back
yet.
to the fifth goal, I can't believe you didn't make the link between Jeremy stinging the hands of Beadle.
We've done that, been there. We don't want to milk it. We're going to milk it, Mikey. Okay. Look, leave him wanting more. You don't. No, come on now.
Okay. But yeah, let's talk about the sixth goal then. And yeah, Tuanzebe had a really, really solid game, didn't he? I find when Tuanzebe plays, we get a little bit more out of Leif Davis on the left side, maybe because he's got slightly more license to bomb forward. And Tuanzebe's a different prospect to Clark because he doesn't like hurtle down the right wing, but he can be quite composed on the ball in that position. Maybe a little bit of a hybrid between Clark and Donacien in some ways. When Tuanzebe isn't, when he's poor, he's pretty poor, but when he's good, he's really good, isn't he? And he's good off. He's very good off the ball, and at times he's pretty good on it as well. But yeah, he's playing in slippers by this stage, just so calm in possession. Amari is playing out on the right at this time, and he runs inside from the channel and just takes the ball in his stride like he did all game. And he's just one of those players that just seems to be running faster when he's got the ball than when he hasn't. It's incredible. He just picks up speed. He chops outside the Wednesday defender, and rather than like he possibly would have done earlier on in the season, lashed at it with his right foot from the tight angle, he just knows that Ali Al-Hamadi is going to be there, and he just rolls it across, and Al-Hamadi basically just nonchalantly just lets the ball hit him. It was such a perfect cut back.
Sorry, Mike. I'm convinced at some point this season we're going to get a goal where Hutchinson's going to square it like that, and Hamadi's going to put his foot on the ball, get on his knees, and give it one of those over the line from a yard. I'm convinced he will.
Yeah, he's brilliant, isn't he? Just so calm. He kind of comes across as a player that wouldn't be calm because he's so sort of busy and quick, isn't he? And normally players like that could be a little bit snatchy, but he doesn't seem to be that.
That was quite funny. The sixth, he sort of barely made it over the line, didn't he? To sort of
I
know it was only for about a yard, but that bit of skill when he chops. When I think was that Johnson again when he chops Johnson, Hutchinson, just superb, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
And as been said, and it was spoken about in Telegram chats over the last day or so, is as a 19-year-old to have 2 goals and in that position in the box to still think, you know what. And it's something we've spoken about previously on the pod, is once his decision-making starts catching up with his ability, then you're going to have a hell of a player on your hands here. And just to show that level of maturity and calmness to know that Al-Hamadi's there and he got a better chance to score was just fantastic to see, wasn't it? And as you say about Tuanzebe, Mikey, there was a couple of times in that second half, wasn't there, when he was starting to ping balls down to Jackson, wasn't there? There was starting to get a little bit of understanding, and he was getting a bit more confidence in the way he was playing in his own performance by playing these like first-time balls down the right-hand side, which hopefully will only sets in good stead for the remainder of the games if Burns isn't around.
Well, also summed it up. Someone in the chat just mentioned there the block by Burgess. I think it was 4-0. I'm sure it was 4 by then. It was, I don't think it was 5. But just putting his body on the line, so determined to keep that clean sheet. Absolutely superb. That sort of summed it up, really.
Yeah, that was Rob. Yeah, forgive me, Rob. I did mean to mention that because that was a hell of a block. And as was mentioned, I listened back or watched the commentary again this morning, and that was mentioned there. I think Ian Westlake said that he could well be as, if not more, pleased with that block than he would have been with his own goal. Yeah, he's that kind of player. So that was all she wrote. 6-0. Thank you very much. The stats pretty much tell the tale. I've put them on the screen here for those who are listening on podcasts. 57% possession, 20 shots, 10 of those on target, to the 1 of Sheffield Wednesday, which was Quincy Jones's favourite Colombian, Ian Pavida's shot in the first half. It was as comfortable and all-round performance as we've seen for a while. Kieran McKenna himself said post-match that he enjoyed watching us. Are you enjoying watching us, Mikey, at the moment?
No, it's getting boring now, isn't it, really? I'm kind of missing the old days. No, it's just incredible, isn't it? I was with a group of my old schoolmates yesterday, and we had a Manchester United fan amongst us. But to be fair to him, he is from he does live in Fleet, so
Guildford.
makes perfect sense. Yeah, he's lived in Guildford as well, so he's ticking off all of the Manchester United hotspots. But yeah, he said it was the best performance that he'd seen all season. That might have changed after today, Manchester United getting through in the FA Cup, but yeah, he said that he was really impressed, and he thinks that if we played like that in the division above, we'd be more than good enough to compete. Yeah, my niece predicted that we'd win 5-0. I don't know how, she's 6 years old. I don't know how much Sheffield Wednesday she's been watching, but obviously a lot more than the rest of us, because she saw this outcome coming. But yeah, just an absolute pleasure. A different type of enjoyment yesterday, wasn't it? There was no jeopardy really at any point. But it was obviously a big crowd. Sheffield Wednesday fans were pretty impressive, weren't they? And that always adds an extra bit of spice
always
to the game. And
super.
Just thoroughly enjoyable. Just everyone walking out with just beaming smiles, and all of the pubs were absolutely packed out after the game as well, which is always nice.
Take your word for that, Mikey. And you say about us potentially being able to make the step up and play a similar style and be not quite as successful, but fight our own cord out if we should go up. Funnily enough, I was reading some more stats during the day today, and about we averaged more goals in the Championship so far than we did in last year in League One, I think, by virtue of 0.18 per goals per game or something along those lines. Certainly at home, in any case. No
There's
team.
More teams come and have a go, though, don't they? Like even Sheffield Wednesday, they're in the bottom three, but they set up to try and score more goals than us yesterday, didn't they? And that can open up these opportunities. But problem is, a lot of the games we've had to score 3 or 4 to win.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you're getting value for money for your season tickets. I remember that when you get the email from Mark Ashton in the next couple of weeks advising you of the what I'm sure may be a slight increase. Please do get your questions in. The guys, we're going to have a little chat more about the game, as you can probably understand, but no, please get your questions in. We'll have a quick look through the tables and results from yesterday, very quick look through those. Before we do, a quick note from our sponsor, Innovation Labs.
Innovation Labs, providing co-working and innovation hubs across East Anglia. We're the perfect place for remote workers, freelancers, startups or innovators to do business. Our unique member network creates extensive business development and collaboration opportunities. Hot desks are available from £20 a day or £99 per month, with business coaching also available from £50. Innovation Labs, turning your ideas into multi-million-pound businesses. Located in Stowmarket, Ipswich, Sudbury, with new sites in Thetford, Norwich and Kuala Lumpur opening soon.
Seamless, Dave. Absolutely.
See that?
He's got an incredible turn of pace there, wasn't he?
I know, mate. I had to rush off and get my and plug my. It was I didn't have my bloody thing plugged in, so it was running low on battery.
Perfect. Good work. I'm glad.
I'm glad. All right there, Dave.
What's that, mate?
Hamstrings all right there.
Well, left one was a bit tight, mate. Left one was very tight.
We're talking about explosive turns of pace earlier on there. Visions of poor old Dave's going to have to strap a bag of peas on the back of his hamstring later on this evening. Perfect stuff. So yeah, a quick couple of plugs. Despite it being International Week, there is still plenty going on in the Blue Monday world. Tuesday of this week, we will be releasing a show which Rich is interviewing our friend Nick Ames from Guardian Sport, the journalist from Guardian Sport, who's also a friend of the pod and is also a Telegram subscriber, no less. That'll be Tuesday. And then running up to next weekend, where the women's team are obviously playing at Portman Road on Saturday, Rich and Seb will be performing their normal Thursday pre-match show. I believe it's pre-recorded, but they'll be performing their normal pre-match show, but with a slight twist, because it will be highlighting the women's game against Chatham on Saturday. There's also an interview with a couple of the players on Thursday, so that's coming up. And then on Sunday, as I said at the beginning, we'll be back as normal, despite there being no men's senior game to speak of. We'll be back on Sunday evening, 8 o'clock in the normal time, to chat about Ipswich, and then probably a few questions and bits and pieces, and also looking forward to the Easter games and on from there, really. Well, people, I can see lots of questions. Thank you very much, everyone, for getting your questions in. I've just got a couple of questions for you guys here, actually, and it may be that they're covered from the people's questions as well coming in. Apologies if they are. But individually, I just want to highlight a couple of people from yesterday. Dave, you talked about him a bit earlier and referenced Paul Mariner. Kiefer Moore, despite not scoring yesterday, was still pretty instrumental in that performance, wasn't he?
Yeah, he deserved the goal, didn't he? He was very, very good. Just his general hold-up play, and just slotted in superbly well, hasn't he? He's our memories are our memories of him from that early spell at the club was somewhat sort of not quite so positive, but he's just an all-round. You can just see just an all-round quality player now. Strong, still playing with the bandage from last week, his war wound from last week. It's just a shame. He absolutely deserved a goal, but fantastic performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mikey, one of the questions is here about Amari. I'll pop up here. Rodney's asking about the role, or once Chaplin's back, what does McKenna do with regards to Hutchinson, given Hutchinson's performances? His improvement over the actual visible, tangible improvement, you can see game upon game upon game how much better the guy's getting. It's testament to him, and it's testament to the coaching staff. But from your perspective, how integral is he becoming, and how far can he go generally within the world of football?
Well, he's crucial, isn't he? He's just got a little bit of X factor, hasn't he? And not only is he quick and a good dribbler, he also has fantastic technique. He's probably one of the best finishers, if not the best finisher at the club. Just an impact player in many ways. He maybe isn't a perfect 90-minute player, but he works so hard off the ball as well. The amount of times
he does, doesn't he, now?
Just causing issues for the opposition. And I just like how when he does play out on the wing, if just from a standing start, he can just create something that whenever he's sort of involved in the final third, something happens, doesn't it? He just gets you off the edge of your seat, and he just looks every part the modern day winger. I could definitely see him having a decent career in the Premier League. I don't know if he'll quite make it up to the elite level, Champions League level, but if he carries on improving and he has a manager like Kieran McKenna, not many of those about, he's got every chance, hasn't he? And he's moved about quite a bit already in his short career, in his youth career. So I think if we get promoted, I think there's every chance we might be able to get him for another season next year, and then who knows?
Yeah, and he's moving about a fair bit on the pitch, playing in lots of different positions and different roles.
And I think going back to that question from the chat, I think because of Wes Burns' injury, there's probably a good chance that he starts on the right wing, or maybe we do see a bit more of Caden Jackson playing in that right wing role. He's played pretty well for McKenna in that position before, and then maybe Hutchinson moves out to the right when Chaplin comes off for Sarmiento or whatever. It'll be interesting to see, because Chaplin, while he hasn't consistently put in fantastic performances recently, he still affects games with goals and assists, doesn't he? And he's a leader in the team.
Yeah,
I fully expect to see him come back in as soon as he's available. But I love seeing Hutchinson in that number 10 role, but he's also a fantastic player to have out wide as well.
They're different types of players, aren't they, Dave? That one's a dribbler, one's, as again referencing Mick Mills on the radio, he was saying that Chapman's more of a 2-3 touch player, whereas Hutchinson's more of a dribbler. But I just want to refer to a different player who's also making tangible, or has certainly since he joined the club, tangible improvements. Is the captain. Can you give us a good half an hour on?
Mate, honestly,
Stan
it's
Morsey?
just incredible. You think, it's just the levels he's achieved, but the levels he maintains week in, week out. It's just incredible. Yeah, I thought Bristol City, I thought he carried us through that game. I thought Morsey's second half against Bristol City, I thought might have been the best I've seen yet of him, to be fair. But yesterday he was just on a completely different level, wasn't he? Helped by, no doubt, by Luongo coming back to his top form, I thought. But he's just superb. And I'd really, a hark back, old fart, but hark back to, like I was mentioning, Kiefer Moore and Paul Mariner. Speaking to Colin, who was sitting next to me, Colin Robinson, Chris Robinson, and Chris was saying, Joe reminds me of Dave. He said, go on. He said, Franz Tyson. I said, I kind of get what you mean. He sort of gets the ball and is able to manipulate the ball sort of quite a tight turning circle and manipulate the ball and come out of trouble. Obviously, he's far more, all-rounded midfielder than Franz Tyson. I don't mean that, but he's far more, more of a combative midfielder. He's almost a complete, he's not a 30, 40 yard sweeping passer of a ball, but just the levels he maintains and the levels he continues to achieve are just incredible for me. Absolutely incredible. And yeah, when he plays like that, like we said about Bannon and the rest of their midfield, they're just chasing shadows, but just clever, isn't he? And you look, I watched him yesterday. I had a better vantage point than I usually do. You watch him yesterday, and you just watch him. He's always mark of a good footballer. Always on the half turn, always looking over his shoulder to receive those little balls. So when he receives those little balls, be it from Gladkey or perhaps from Twanzebe in tight and that, he's always just got so much time and to play the ball. Just never seems to get into trouble. And yesterday, just every second ball, him and Luongo just gobbled up, didn't they? It was just, relentless, really. But yeah, he again, last season he was fantastic, but this season, it's, as I said yesterday, we all said yesterday, just such a shame he's not 5 years younger, 2 or 3 years even.
But to my eyes, it's just remarkable that he can't be. He's got to be a much, much better player than the one that we thought we were all signing down in League One, isn't it? The improvements that he's made himself. Because when he joined and he was partnered with Lee Evans, he was playing the more advanced role and having to get into the box, wasn't he? Breaking into the box. Yeah, no, that's right. But now, as you say, it's every week, isn't it?
A week in week, but again, like Hutchison, this is not testament to the coaching and everything that's going on down there. He's just. He is some player, and yesterday he was. I thought it was his best yet yesterday.
Yeah.
Craig, there was a good comment in the chat from Paul Saunders saying that Morsey was incredible during Ramadan last season.
Yes.
It's almost like he raised his game, and he was at another level yesterday. Wondering if we'll see the same this year. And there could be something in that. They do say that. I think Morsey's spoken about that before. How he feels sort of more inspired, and I
emboldened.
Think there's even a little bit of science in having the diet that way as well, and it clearly seems to get the best out in him. Just what a fantastic signing, what a fantastic player, and just absolute leader as well.
And there's someone just said there's someone just said in the on the chat there, we have to. Not begrudgingly, have to thank Paul Cook for that, because that was his relationship, really, wasn't it, that got him there? And he said after that, I think was his first game after that, Bolton, was it 5-2? And I remember Cook saying then post match saying, "Sammy Morsey plays, that doesn't happen." And he's probably been proved right.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes just talking, because it's such a level, and the thing is, it's just the consistency, isn't it? It's not a one every 2 or 3 games. It's just the consistent, and sometimes with such consistency, it just gets forgotten about or thought that it's just taken as read that it's going to happen each game, doesn't it? But it's just there's such a high level of performance all the time.
Hutchison was deservedly man of the match yesterday. Although quite funny when the SIF goal went in, that Mark Murphy thought he was so good that he could chase after his own ball across the 6-yard box and score off his own pass, which I thought was pretty impressive. But he. You can again is Hutchison, because he had just so fantastic with his assists and goals yesterday. But other than that, Morsey was again head and shoulders above everyone else, wasn't he?
Yeah,
just incredible.
Yeah, 100%. Right, we'll have a very, very, very quick look at the bits and pieces from the other results from yesterday, and also one insignificant one from today. Anything that crops up from here, you guys? Swansea beat Cardiff pretty comfortably from what I saw in the fan zone in the South Wales derby. Birmingham City, this is not looking good. I spoke about it with Ben last week and asked him if Venus was going to get Birmingham City relegated. Well, he's doing a pretty good job of it at the moment. 1-0 loss at home to Watford is not great. Although saying that, Plymouth also lost, this time at home to Preston. I don't think there's many Plymouth fans particularly happy with the management team down there at the moment. Rotherham 0-0, Huddersfield, Stoke stinking the place out at home to Norwich. Sunderland just treading water towards the summer yet again, a 0-0 against QPR, and West Brom again pretty comfortably beating Bristol City at home. Anything that crops up there, I say just from my side, just down the bottom is I'll pop the table up just down the bottom. Last week,
Rotherham apart,
last week everyone sort of won or picked up a point here and there, but this week Birmingham, Stoke, and Plymouth all lost, and none of Huddersfield, QPR, or Blackburn managed to win.
Yeah, it was quite funny. That I didn't know the score, but I guessed it was someone like that because when it went to 6-0, the Sheffield Wednesday fans started singing about staying up. So I assume that the other results have pretty much gone their way. And you'd think with Sheffield Wednesday down at the bottom, they probably see the last two games, Leeds at home, us away, as 2-3 hits, as I said earlier, probably.
Yeah.
But they'll have to improve a little bit, I think, on yesterday to have any chance, I would have thought.
But six teams covered by 3 points there is...
Plymouth aren't out. Plymouth are out close, aren't they? They're certainly not out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and Leicester lost today, as a couple of people are pointing out as well. That was probably quite a mentally exhausting game for everyone involved at Leicester. Played a lot of that game with 10 men against Chelsea, and conceded two more late goals. I know it's against Premier League opposition, but losing is a habit, and it's definitely one that Leicester seem to have at the moment, and long may that continue.
And I guess the other thing we should mention is the upcoming Coventry game. Wouldn't that be absolutely beautiful if it was like 3 days before the cup semi-final, and perhaps they're slightly out of the playoff picture as well? That'd be delightful. I think they'll still be in with a shout at the playoffs for sure. Yeah, but that would.
Could Coventry be the Barnsley?
Well, that wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing, but.
Dave's given up the ghost a little bit. He's got a phone call coming through. It's disrupted his modem. Mikey, while you're here, I'm going to pop a few of the questions up as we're reaching the hour mark, and you're going to have to.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, it looks.
You're going to have to hold the chair for a little bit while we sort Dave out. Hold on 1 second. Let me do a jiggery pokery. Look at that. Perfect. As and when, don't worry, fans of David Diamond, as soon as he reappears, I will be putting him straight back in. But that hamstring may have caused him to fall off his chair and, I say, pull the plug somewhere. Mikey, assuming Burns is out, I think we can pretty much assume Burns is out for a few weeks at least. It's a tricky one, isn't it? How do we line up on the right? Do we entrust Caden Jackson with a start, or if we assume Chaplin's going to be back in 2 weeks' time, do we just rejig that three?
Yeah, it's a difficult one to know, isn't it? But it looks like Tuanzebe and Jackson could be a good partnership down that right side. They seem to suit playing down there, didn't they? And I think maybe Chaplin comes back and possibly starts from the bench, and we could see Jackson starting down the right and Hutchinson in the middle. I'm not sure if we've seen Amari play in the number 10 position much away from home, but it will be an interesting one, that one. But I mean, I don't want to say it, but a lot can change between now and then. We've got Broadhead and Moore playing in internationals, haven't we? And there could be a training ground injury here or there, or somebody has a fantastic week on the training ground and earns the shirt. But I think it feels like Caden Jackson probably does deserve a start in that right wing role, and then we can keep Hutchinson in the number 10 with Chaplin probably coming on for the final half an hour or so.
But I suppose we've got the opportunity. It's horses for courses. It depends who we're up against, what their left backs like, how they play, etc., etc. That some games are get the ball into Amari Hutchinson's feet and let him dribble. Some games are get the ball in behind the left back and let Caden Jackson or Wes Burns run onto it, aren't they? I suppose it's nice to have as Jackson proved yesterday. And it's nice to have someone who's in form who can slot in as and when needed. It's a lovely position to be in. Along similar lines, Rodney's asking the question here: given Hutchinson's performance in the number 10, what does McKenna do when Chaplin comes back? I think Mikey sort of covered that. I suppose it just takes the stress out of having to rush him back if he's not fully fit with his back issues, I suppose.
Yeah, but that being said, we need to rush David Diamond back, don't we? Here we are. He's on mute.
We've got Dave. We've got Dave back visually. For those listening on pod, Dave's back visually. He's now doing a French mime act.
Reboot for some reason, but there you go. Probably something to do with me dashing off mid pod to plug my pod in and then realising I hadn't quite plugged it in properly. But that's probably the reason.
Blame IT, mate. Just unplug it and plug it.
Don't worry about it, Dave.
Strongly worded email to IT first thing tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's not like we've got record viewing figures at the moment in the chat.
That's why, mate.
I'm going to welcome you back, Dave, with a question from Norman. Those up the road seem to have found some form. Would you take a point right now against them in 2 or 3 weeks' time?
No, because it'd still be unbearable. If we only got a point, it would still be unbearable, wouldn't it? So, no, I won't be prepared to settle for less than 3. No. It was bad enough. You know, I did venture onto one of their sites after the draw back in December, and that was like, it was just hard to take that. So no, wouldn't. First of all, don't lose the game, but no. Let's go there and win. Good God, yeah. Got to change sometime, surely. Has to.
Yeah, let's hope so. And as sort of Neil says here, thoughts on £40 a ticket. And it's not necessarily that, Neil. I'm hoping to jump on at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning and get a couple. The kids' tickets over 12s, under 18s, or it's about 23, 25 quid for a 13-year-old to go and watch, which I think's.
How many points have you got, Craig?
Taking the mickey. 37.
Yeah,
more than Sheffield Wednesday, haven't you, Craig?
Well, you say that. I was speaking to someone last week who's got 39, and that is more than Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, what I'd say on it, Craig, I think it comes down to the fact that that's possibly how much a ticket is in that area of the ground. I don't think you can charge away fans more than you charge the home fans.
No.
And I've paid more than that for a Carrow Road East Anglian derby years ago. It got up to well over 40 quid at one point. That might have been for the playoff game. But it's tit for tat, isn't it? We give them 2,000, they give us 2,000, and just silliness really. Probably won't be any beer available in the bar either. We won't be treated particularly well when we're down there, but if we get the result, I don't think anyone will care too much, will they?
No, exactly. Get there, get 3 points, and then
get
out of Dodge. Yeah,
get out of Dodge, exactly.
One for you, Mikey, from Lee. If both were fully fit, who would you play between Hurst and Moore if we were condemned to the playoffs?
Well, that is quite a big if, isn't it? Because if Hurst is back, he's not going to be fully match fit, is he? But I guess if it's a hypothetical question, I feel like it. Unbelievably, I can't believe that I'm going against George Hurst here, but yeah, it probably would be Kiefer Francisco. What is it?
Kiefer Sutherland, Dudley Moore.
Okay, lovely. I think it would be Kiefer Moore, just because the aerial presence in both boxes. He can link the play, and we don't massively miss Hurst's sort of running power because of the running power that we can get around Moore. It definitely would strengthen us, but then it would be a shame that we wouldn't see Al Hamady off the bench, would we?
Well, you say that. I don't think we're shy about filling our bench up with attacking options, are we? And that's one thing that surprised me a little bit. I know Dave was waxing lyrical about Keith. He's no slouch either, is he?
He gets around. He's pretty mobile. Gets around. Do you know what it would be? I wouldn't put it past our manager to get to the playoff final when Hurst is fit and go 4-4-2. We'd do 2 big guys up front. Bring it on.
Mixer. Just stick it in the mixer.
Stick it in the mixer. Yeah.
That's McKenna ball all over, isn't it? Just quick in here, another one here for you, Dave. I'll stick a couple more on, and then we'll go and enjoy our Sunday evenings. One from Jack. With Clark and Burns' link-up play now gone for a while, will we see Axel as the primary right-back to help cover the defensive work of Jackson or Hutchinson? Do you think, or is it going to be a bit of tit for tat, like for like?
I think I think so. Horses for courses, a bit like I think how Jackson, perhaps Hutchinson, if Burns is out long term now, how I think Jackson and Hutchinson will manage. So I think, yeah, you'll probably see Clark and Twanzebe handled the same for specific games, I would have thought.
Yeah. And again,
Probably
as I'm saying,
Clark in the Tuesday night games and the East Anglian derby, I reckon.
Maybe right. Yeah.
On here, Mikey, for you from A. If Southampton are already condemned to playoffs, would you take points off Leeds if that could drag them into playoffs? Would they take points off Leeds?
Yeah, it's a frustrating one, really, isn't it? Because we obviously need to stay above Southampton, but we don't want them to be out of it because they've got everyone to play, haven't they? And they could make a big difference. But I think even if Southampton don't have points to play for, I don't necessarily think that would change them too much. Obviously, the personnel might change and they might rest a couple of players, but they'll play in exactly the same style of play, and they'll definitely create chances against teams that are desperately trying to win. So yeah, I think we kind of want them to stay alive for as long as possible, but maybe we finish them off. I don't know
if you covered this during my sort of outtake a few minutes ago, but haven't they got to play something like 10 games in 26 days or something?
Yeah.
So it's a hell of a they got a hell of a workload ahead of them. So
there's a tricky ones in there as well. But
yeah,
is anyone looking forward to, playoff games aren't enjoyable, particularly games against Norwich aren't particularly enjoyable. Yeah, add them both together, and you've got a particularly unenjoyable couple of games coming up.
As someone said, just imagine if it happened and it was the final. How the hell would that get managed?
Well,
just
yes,
transport logistics wise, for Christ's sake. How would that work?
Well, I think Norfolk and Suffolk Police would probably get together, Dave, and just arrange it so Norwich get the trains from Norwich Station, probably chartered straight through to Wembley, and we can walk. We can walk down there.
Leave it up to the
big
brains
all the way back when we win.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we'll float back.
Brilliant stuff. All right, I think that'll do us. We've just squeezed over the hour mark. I'll get my knuckles wrapped by Rich for that, but not to worry. We're allowed to every now and again. A couple of minutes or an extra couple of goals. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Mikey, for your appearance on a Sunday night, which is always good to see. Dave, as ever, thank you very much. As I said, this week we've still got plenty going on. Tuesday, our pod interview with Nick, and then Thursday pre-match, and we're back again Sunday for 8 o'clock flagship as ever. Thank you very much to everyone who's been in the chat. Really appreciate it. It's been absolutely outstanding. Loads of comments, loads of chat going on while we've been discussing yesterday's thrilling win. Thank you very much for watching. This is the Blue Monday podcast, and as I say, we'll see you at some point during the week. Cheers all.